My name is Jaden. I'm a 20-year-old spiritual entrepreneur and spiritual creator. On this channel, I help my fellow spiritual creators and spiritual entrepreneurs with unblocking their unlimited creativity, leveling up their productivity, deepening their spirituality, and finding infinite fulfillment from creating. This video is going to be a video about spirituality. It's basically just going to be talking about my journey with growing up Christian and leaving the fundamental Christian faith back in April. Actually, it was more around May, early May. And I kind of just wanted to tell you guys my story with my spirituality and with Christianity, because I feel like this is something that a lot of other people will resonate with, and this is something that affected me for a while. And so if I can just spread some awareness to one, two, just a few more people, that would mean a lot to me. Like, I like to say I'm here to spread God's true gospel, to really spread like Jesus's true gospel as well, and to talk about oneness and talk about non-duality, talk about these mystical concepts. And I'm here to spread these mystical concepts, but I can't say I'm here to do that and I'm not doing that, right? I can't say I want to help my fellow people who are either Christians or, maybe one foot in the door, one foot out, because they're questioning things about Christianity. You love God, you love Jesus. I've always loved God, always loved Jesus. Jesus has always been my dude, always been my dude. But I've never gotten down with hell. I've never gotten down with like damnation. I've never gotten down with fearing God. If God is all loving and all merciful, all forgiving, why would I have to fear God, right? These things never really sat right with me. I never really liked the idea of like animal sacrifices and Jesus being our animal sacrifice, right? And even though Jesus sacrificed himself for us, we're still out here sinning. So what's the deal with that? These things never really made sense to me. And so I kind of just want to talk to you a bit about my journey and about where I'm at now. I still love Jesus. I still follow Jesus' teachings, but it's not through fundamental Christianity. It's through mystical Christianity. Jesus was a Jewish mystic, right? His spiritual path was about going within and seeking the divine. Jesus was a meditator. He was a contemplator. He was honestly a spiritual master. He was a spiritual master in the realms of Hindu and yoga. He was a master in these things, and he traveled to all over the West. I'm saying things that if you're just a Christian, like a fundamental Christian, if you haven't heard these things, they might sound bizarre to you, but there is evidence for these things, right? I would really encourage you to do more research. I'm not going to talk too much about why I believe the things I believe, but I just know that they feel so resonant with me. And so that's all I'm asking you to do in this video. See what resonates with you and look deeper into it, right? I'm not asking you to be like, oh yeah, this guy is saying like this is Jesus, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I don't care. All I'm here to do is share what I feel in my heart is correct and what I believe in. And if you believe in that as well, awesome. Do more research on it. See what resonates. See what doesn't. And so Jesus traveled to these, in the Bible, there's the missing 18 years, and from 12 to 30. And throughout this time, Jesus traveled to many places in the East, Egypt, Persia, India, Tibet, to study these Eastern philosophies. Buddhism, Hinduism, I believe Tao as well, Zoroastrianism. And Jesus, he went to these places and he learned and he studied these places, these Eastern wisdom philosophies, so he could understand the true nature of reality, the true nature of the relationship between man and God, that I and the Father are one, that the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? Jesus said these things, and that's because you and the Father are one. And Jesus wasn't just talking about himself. The Father is one with all. We are all one with God. God is everywhere, in everyone, in everything. And so, of course, we are all one with God. Of course, the kingdom of heaven is within you, because heaven is a state of consciousness. Heaven is the state of bliss reality. And that state of bliss reality can be achieved by anyone at any time, honestly. It just has to do with the fact of tapping into your true nature, your true being. There's a Sanskrit word, Sat-Chit Ananda. Sat-Chit Ananda. Being, consciousness, and bliss. Being, awareness, consciousness, and bliss. This is your true nature. Your nature is being. It is existence itself. Before you had thoughts, you were there before your thoughts, right? You can observe your thoughts. You can observe your feelings. You can observe these physical sensations on you. You can observe your mind. And so none of these things are you. The mind is not you. The body is not you. Your emotions, your thoughts, none of these are you. You are the awareness behind all of these things. You are the observer. You are the seer, the awareness itself, the consciousness, the being itself, the existence itself. If you exist, you are existence. If you are conscious, you are consciousness. And that awareness of being pure existence, brings us to our natural state of bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Being, consciousness, and bliss. This is your true nature. And Jesus taught us this true nature. Jesus taught us that we are all one. Jesus taught to love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Jesus taught to do unto others what you would want to do unto you. And these are the teachings of Jesus that really resonate with me and that resonate with a lot of Christians as well. But that is Jesus's gospel. And salvation by confession, saying Jesus is my God and believing you're saved from your sins, that was not Jesus's gospel. Hell, not Jesus's gospel. Hell's not even in the Bible. That's a mistranslation. The King James Bible mistranslate hell from the word Gehenna, which was an actual place in Jerusalem where they would burn criminals and trash and stuff like that. And there was this misconception of hell where Jesus was talking about it's better to be I don't remember the exact story. I believe he was talking and saying that it's better to cut off one hand if you're a sinner than to be thrown in the fires of Gehenna where your whole body would be burned. And so you wouldn't have any body. Something like that. But regardless, the true teachings of Jesus are not what fundamental Christianity teach. Fundamental Christianity teaches salvation by confession. It teaches that you can just believe in Jesus. Jesus is your Lord and you're saved. That God is the good and there's the devil and the devil is opposing God. The devil is not real. Now, are there negative polarities? Are there negative entities? Yeah, sure. I actually do believe in negative entities. But I don't believe in the concept of good and evil, only in the concept of positive and negative. There's no opposing power fighting God. All is God. God is everywhere and everyone and everything. And so these are a lot of the things that never really resonated with me growing up Christian. And so now I actually tell a bitch about my story. I know this video is supposed to be about me, and I've kind of just been blabbing. So I'm 20 years old, and back in May, I decided that I'm nope, not a fundamental Christian anymore. Now this mystical Christianity thing, that's pretty cool. I kind of like this. Let's keep doing that one. But growing up as a fundamental Christian, I like to define fundamentalism versus mysticism is fundamentalism is a lot of trying to seek God outside of yourself, believing that we are separate from God, believing God is not within you. And so you have to seek God in external ways like scripture or through prayer even, or prayer is not really a good one. Prayer is an excellent way to connect with God and to feel God internally. I had my first mystical experience through prayer actually. But basically it's trying to seek God outside of yourself. And mysticism takes the opposite route of trying to seek God within yourself, turning to your true experience to how you know God. And so I'm going to talk about my mystical experiences a bit later, but let me just give you a bit background on my story of Christianity. So I grew up Christian, and I never really resonated with the church that my grandparents went to. My mom's parents, my mama and papa, they they've been super devout churchgoers for at least the last like 25 years. My grandfather's actually a reverend, so like the church is very, very important to them. And I've never been like opposed to Christianity necessarily, but the church that my grandparents went to, and a lot of just like Christian, like a lot of the Christian atmosphere, I'll say, was not as loving and not as accepting fully. There was judgment, there was hypocrisy, and I never really felt resonant like sitting in those sermons and like being at church with my grandparents or with my mom. Even my mom goes to that church as well, but it just never really felt right to me, honestly. And so I really stopped going to church with my grandparents around 6-7 years old. And I'm glad my grandparents never really forced religion on me. That was never something they wanted to do, because they believe that this is something you have to come into on your own. And I believe that as well with all spirituality. You can't like have spirituality forced on you. Like you need to want it. And so maybe around up until 11 or 12, I didn't really start like going back to church until around that age, when my dad and my family, my dad, my stepmom, and my siblings, I have 2 older siblings. My older sister, that's my full sister, it's my love. Then there's my stepbrother, and then I have 2 younger half brothers, right? So there's my sister and I, we have the same mom and dad. My stepbrother is with my stepmom, and then my 2 younger brothers are my stepmom and my dad, right? And so my family, we would start going to church every Sunday to this church in Montclair. We're from New Jersey. And so every time we'd go to this church, I'd be like, and they had like a youth group as well, which is probably a big reason to why. The church was like super fun, and we like used to have like this, we used to like have like a game room in there, and it was like super lit. After youth word, we would like go and play games, and it'd be super fun. But I really, really enjoyed how like the youth pastor actually taught like the youth sermons, and like how he like really connected with us. And that was like really my first introduction to like really like feeling the love of God, the love of Jesus, and like really pulling the wisdom out of the stories from the Bible. As much as I like reject fundamentalism, I'm not like shitting on fundamentalism, right? I just believe that fundamentalism isn't Jesus' true gospel, and I believe a lot of fundamentalists worship a book, and I don't believe the Bible should be worshipped. But I do believe that there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible. I believe there's so much the Bible can teach us about how to live better lives in this physical experience, but how to live better spiritually as well, right? And so I believe that the stories of the Bible are extremely, extremely like useful to use and to apply into our lives. And so I really started seeing this in my journey around 11, 12 years old. But this didn't stay for too long. We only went for this church a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years, because eventually my dad and my family, we moved down here to Georgia. Now, I only stayed in Georgia for 1 year, and then I left and went back to Jersey to live with my mom. But we came down here to Georgia, and we were really trying to get acclimatized. We didn't really have church in our lives. And throughout that time, going to that church, it was called MCC, Montclair Community Church. But that MCC was really big for me, and like I actually really started like opening my heart to God and to Jesus, and I felt like really called to like get baptized. But for some reason, I've always had resistance with getting baptized. And I think like looking back at it now, it isn't because I don't want to be baptized. I'd actually love to be baptized. But it's because I didn't want to be baptized in that like energy and like the belief that I used to believe in, right? I didn't want to be baptized in fundamentalism because I didn't fully resonate with fundamentalism. And I never understood why I was resistant to baptism. There have been like many times in my life where I've thought, yeah, I want to get baptized. Like I actually want to do this, right? But it would like be weird to me and being like, there's still resistance here. It's like, and why is that? I love God. I love Jesus. I love Jesus's teachings. I love what God like wants for me. I love God's wisdom. I love God's love. Like, I love all these things. But I had that resistance, and I believe it was really because I wasn't supposed to get baptized without this knowledge that I have now. Right? I wasn't supposed to truly give myself to this faith without understanding what this faith truly is. And I think now that I actually understand Christianity, I could get baptized, and it would have to be in an environment that like I really feel like nurtured in and like actually caters towards me. And I feel like I just haven't necessarily found that environment yet, and that's okay. And maybe I'll have to create that environment myself. But so after maybe 13, I really didn't go to church much. I didn't honestly have much to do with Christianity at that point. Back when I came back up to New Jersey for high school, so I was probably 14 at this point. That's when I started like getting into like other spiritual like aspects of I started like understanding other natures of spirituality in terms of I got into astronomy and like astrology for a point. I think we all, at least I did. I think all us spiritual people had that like that point of like being into astronomy or astrology. At least when I was in high school, Instagram like astronomy was like, or Instagram astrology was super poppin', so I was always on that. And that was really big for me because it really still kept my in syncness with the divine, I guess. My connection with God, it kept that intact without having that Christian vehicle. And for a long time, like, Christianity was really the only vehicle I saw for spirituality. And so I felt very limited in my spirituality because I felt like if I wasn't pursuing Christianity, then I wasn't really able to evolve spiritually. And so that was a big block for me for a long time. And honestly, there were points where I just felt like so disconnected with God because I wasn't practicing that connection with God. I wasn't keeping it up. And this spanned for over 5 years, up until the end of last year. So last December 31st, so New Year's Eve, right? Maybe a week or two before, my parents, my dad and my stepmom, I currently live in Georgia now with my dad again. My dad and stepmom, they went to this new church, a couple weeks before New Year's Eve. And so we decided to go to this new church as a family together, right? And we went to the church. It's called Change Church, led by an amazing pastor. His name is Pastor Darius Daniels. He's got a channel right here on YouTube. But we went there, and the church was super beautiful, and I really connected with them in terms of like how they worship God and how they how their worship went in terms of like the songs, and just really like feeling like heartfelt and connected God. I felt so in the heart in those moments, like in those like worship times. And when pastor would come up and he would like talk about, like, he would speak his sermons, they would feel so resonant with me. They would completely hit my heart and my mind. Like, I just felt they resonated so deeply with my spirit. And on this first sermon, I don't remember exactly what it was about, but pastor basically talked about how he got to this point in the sermon where he said, if you've gotten through the end of this year and you've overcome a hard time, a difficult time, a dark time where you felt like you didn't know where you were going to get through, you didn't know how you were going to get here, it was because God got you here. It's because God led you to this point. It's because God guided you on how to get out. And that was like the biggest like holy shit moment, right? Where I really realized that I haven't been tapped into God at all, really, honestly, these last 5-6 years of my life. And because of that, I felt like I was trying to do this life thing alone. And I was trying to do this life thing alone. Because although God is always there for us, if we're not asking God for guidance, for love, for wisdom, if we're not really nurturing that relationship with God, then God's going to take the back foot. God's never going to overstep on us. God is a loving parent, right? And if you have truly loving parents, right, not parents that claim they're loving but they're really controlling, love isn't controlling. if you have truly loving parents, they're gonna take the back foot. You know, they're gonna let you do your thing because they know that life is the greatest teacher, right? My stepmom was just telling me this. I recently told her and my dad about Aaron and I being married, and she was talking about how, like, although, like, dad and I, we may act this way or react this way, it doesn't matter. None of that matters, because this is your life, Jay, right? And at the end of the day, we know that life is the greatest experience teacher of all. Like, experience, life, like the things that you learn by getting smacked in the face, right? By life itself, these things are always going to be your greatest teacher. Experience is always going to be your greatest teacher. And so God wants you to just experience what life has to offer. And eventually you'll see that life is all about know thyself, love thyself, become the creator. Know God, love God, and co-create with God. That's what life is all about. It's all about knowing God, loving God, and becoming the creator with God. That's it. Like, it really is that simple, honestly. But to know God, to know thyself, is hard. To love God and to love yourself, it's fucking difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it gets hard. This human experience, this programming gets in the way. The flesh, it gets in the way. To become the creator with God, not easy. But these things are what bring ultimate fulfillment in life. These things are what bring ultimate joy, ultimate peace in life. Serving others, serving yourself, right? Like, truly empowering yourself so you can empower others. That's always going to bring you the greatest fulfillment. That's always going to bring you the greatest peace, the greatest joy in life. And I started seeing that in myself when I really started getting consistent on YouTube, but we're going to get there in a bit. So last year, the end of the year, I have this like, oh, okay, I need God. Okay, I'm seeing it now. I'm starting to get into clarity. And so my family and I, we started going to church more. And this is when I had my first mystical experience. So we started going to church consistently for like for January. And then we dabbled throughout February and March rather. But I don't remember exactly when it was, but sometime in the first quarter of this year, I had my first mystical experience. And this is why I like to say, like, people say, oh yeah, I believe in God, I have faith. All that's cute. I don't believe in God. I know God. I have felt God's presence. And this was, like I said, it was the first quarter of this year. And I'd actually recently watched this YouTube video. It was by like a really cool like Christian like YouTuber, and he makes like these really dope animations. His name is I'm Beggar, IMBEGGAR. Super cool. But he made a video about prayer, and after I watched that video, I felt like I felt very connected to it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's got prayer right. So let me go pray real quick, right? Let me go pray. I want to feel God. I want to open my heart to God. I want to open the room and feel God's presence, right? I was so excited. And so I go and sit in my chair, and like I have all the lights off, and I turn the fans off, and I just start praying to God and just start opening my heart to like gratitude about why I feel so grateful for like what God has done for me, where He's brought me. I say He for God. I don't really like putting like He and she, I like using pronouns in general to God. If I'll say it or they, but you know, for ease of use, I like to avoid pronouns as much as possible, but I do usually refer to God as He, because I feel connected to God when I talk about the masculine, the divine masculine, and I really get the divine feminine through Mother Gaia, through Earth. Mother Gaia is the divine feminine for me, so I like to see God as my heavenly father, and Earth as and Mother Gaia as my earthly mother, and that's how I connect with the divine. But sometimes I'll just refer to God as source or it or the creator, you know, like I'll say they. I won't use pronouns, and sometimes I will, so just bear with that, all right? But I just asked God to show Himself to me, right? I asked God to reveal Himself to me, and I just felt this like overwhelming just sensation in my body. It just felt like I was full of light and full of like my heart was just full of love, and I felt like I kept sitting in that feeling, and I was just like super deep, just keep going with the prayer. I was just so intense, just I love you, God. I'm so grateful to be here. I want you to show me how to open my heart more, how to be more wise, how to live a life that you want me to live, like things like this, right? And I just felt like this overwhelming presence all over my entire body. I felt like this weight on my body, and it was so divine, honestly. It was so beautiful to experience that. And ever since then, I've been like, oh, okay, God's real. I already knew that, but now I know for real. And ever since then, that's when I have especially felt like, okay, I'm supposed to be doing something with this knowledge, with this wisdom, with this love for God. I'm supposed to be spreading this somehow. I'm supposed to be sharing this with other people. And that's when I thought, I was like, okay, I'm supposed to spread God's gospel. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be spreading God's gospel. I'm supposed to be spreading God's word, spreading God's love and God's wisdom to the people. That's what I'm here to do. But I had resistance. Why? Well, because I was still a Christian, and because I wasn't trying to spread the gospel of fearing God or hell or salvation by confession. It's like I didn't resonate with any of these concepts. I didn't. And so how could I spread these concepts? How could I spread this word when that isn't the word that I felt and that I resonate with? It didn't make any sense to me. And so I had this internal battle of like, oh shit, man, like I want to spread God's love and God's gospel, but Christianity, I don't really know about that one. And so I finally realized in April, I watched this podcast. I think it was like the end of April, by a spiritual guide. His name is Aaron Apke, Aaron Abke. And Aaron Apke has literally been like my spiritual guide. Like he's like my guru, I'm not gonna lie. Now I really consider Jesus as my guru. Jesus is my true guru. Alright? But Aaron is like my channel through which I receive Jesus's teachings and like other teachings. But Aaron has really been my guide on my spiritual journey, like a big influence for me. And I found this podcast of him. This was the first time I saw him on a podcast called Know Thyself. Absolutely amazing podcast, amazing host Andre Ducum. Super good podcast on spirituality, consciousness, knowing yourself, loving yourself, becoming the creator. And so I seen this podcast, and it was titled the Lost Teachings of Jesus, the Essenes, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the thumbnail said they hid this for 2,000 years. And it was just like, holy shit, wait, what? And I'm like, this pod has something I need to know. And I click on it, and in the first 20 minutes, my mind has just been absolutely fucking blown. I'm like, this guy, Aaron, this guy knows. And I've just been so in love with Aaron Apke ever since. But that was the moment, and Aaron like really brought to light mystical Christianity to me. This was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm not fundamentalist anymore. Like that's not me. And it took me like maybe another couple weeks until I like truly was like, yeah, I'm not a fundamental Christian anymore. I'm like mystical Christianity, that's my thing, right? But like I knew after like I watched that pod, I was like, this is it. This right here, this is the true teaching of Jesus that feels resonant in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, and that I want other people to know as well. And so ever since then, like, you know, early May, I've been a mystical Christian. And I don't just follow like Jesus's teachings. I don't like to put myself in a box. I love to like learn from a bunch of different philosophies. I've been getting more into the Bible recently. I just got the Bhagavad Gita, which is like a sacred text spoken by Lord Krishna. I'm actually very interested in reading the Quran as well. I love Hermetic philosophy. I have the Kabbalion. I have the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Hermetic philosophy, very interesting to me. I want to learn more about Taoism as well. I have the Tao Te Ching. Like, I love looking to all these different wisdom places. Yoga, Hindu yoga, super in love with yoga. And these are all different like philosophies, religions, studies that I really love and I really resonate with. And I really believe that every single one of these disciplines, every single one of these studies, these religions, these philosophy, all of them point back to the same truth. The same truth that God is love, and that following God is the way, that knowing God is what we're here to do, that your external reality is created by your internal, right? The mirror principle. Every single one of these texts, every single one of these ideas, these ideologies point to the exact same end, right? The way they're spitting it sounds a little different, it tastes a little different, but the message is the same nonetheless. And that's something that I feel very called to do, to really bring these places together, bring these Eastern and Western philosophies together, and really marry them and show how Jesus' teachings were the same as these other teachings, and how these teachings, these true teachings of Jesus, will bring peace and bliss and joy to your life. That is what I want to do. That's what I'm here to do. So yeah, this has been a pretty long video. If you got to the end of this, pound it, you're a real one. If this video has resonated with you, if you're a Christian or a former Christian, a questioning Christian like I was, I'd really love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. I respond to every comment. All the support means a lot to me, guys. All the love, everything that you guys have shown me, it just means more than you know. I actually do want to ask you guys, would you guys like to hear me talk more about spirituality on my channel? Like, I've honestly been trying to figure out where I want the direction of my channel to go. And I've been figuring out recently that I'm just so in love with spirituality, and I'm so in love with learning all these different things and presenting this to people. Like, if I went all in on this, or if I made this my focus, I feel like that actually might be something that I resonate with deeper. And so let me know if that sounds good to you. If you're into the end of this video and you resonated with what I had to teach you in this video and my story, and maybe you like go check out some of my other videos, just let me know. Like, would you really be interested in me like focusing more on spirituality and maybe offering like a coaching offer that's focused on spirituality as well? That sounds interesting. I'd really love to hear you guys' feedback. So let me know in the comments down below. All the support, all the love, all the feedback, it means everything to me, guys. Like I said in the beginning, my name is Jaden. I'm here building a community of spiritual creators and spiritual entrepreneurs, people who want to spread love, spread education, spread abundance, spread fulfillment, reach financial independence, doing what we love every day. So that's something you want to be a part of. I'd appreciate it if you drop a sub, drop a like, share. Let's keep growing up our spiritual tribe. Everything really means a lot to me, guys. Do it today. Be better for it tomorrow. Stay blessed. Stay loving. I'll catch you on next vid. Thumbs out.